We are well into 2026 and it promises to be an exciting year ahead. And that's what we're going to talk about in this week's edition of Deep Drive powered by Kotak Mahindra Prime. I'm Hormazd Sorabjee.
And I'm Sergius Barretto. And yeah, indeed, Hormazd, it's, as we've been discussing, it's not just about new launches. We have that every year. But this year, there's a lot of battles to be fought, new positions to be gained, some to be lost. We're going to see perhaps new, I would say, leaders in the luxury space. So there's a lot to unpack here, isn't it?
There is, absolutely. I think, one thing hasn't changed is that Maruti is still firmly at the top.
Of course.
But their market share has come down to close to 40%. It's going to be interesting how it pans out going forward in 2026. Really no major launch. I think they are banking on the Victoris, which has got good numbers.
Right.
But what one hears from the dealers, that is a struggle. That car hasn't really sort of created a sparkle within consumers. In the end, people just look at it as a revamped Grand Vitara.
Right.
And Grand Vitara now at a discount. And Grand Vitara will have some facelift coming up. So I think we're talking about Maruti. It's gone straight to the market leader. So I think definitely, Maruti will remain the market leader just by their sheer volume, their penetration. It's such a well-oiled machine that they just sort of sell even with their eyes closed. It just keeps that momentum keeps going.
Right.
They just know how to move the metal.
Yeah.
But in terms of product, I don't think anything very exciting. And as I said, they are, let's say, banking on a couple of models to pull them through. But I think what has given them a little bit of respite is the GST cut, which has really helped the bottom end of the market to go up significantly. So I think that's something they will be counting on. But as far as product action goes, there's really not much.
Yeah, I think Maruti can be mum as the theme and still do well. As you said, it's a well-oiled machine. They'll still be there at the number one position. But number two, Hormazd, is going to be a very interesting fight this year.
Yeah, so number two is going to be really interesting. In fact, number two made the headlines. Number one is a given. Very rarely do you have the number two guy, taking all the glory. In this case, it was Mahindra, which came from number 4 and just about pipped Tata Motors to second place. I think more telling was that both Tata Motors and Mahindra overtook Hyundai, which was at one point a solid number 2. So Hyundai's dropped to number 4. And I think the story really is for 2026. I think what we're going to see is really the consolidation and strengthening of the Indian brands. So let's talk about Tata Motors. And I think they're going to get some great numbers with the Sierra.
Yeah.
So I think they've got some fantastic bookings. So even if a lot of them are cancelled, there's a real pull on the car. I think the feedback is the styling is really the wow factor. It's just drawing people in without even driving the car, and we've driven the NA. It's really not something great to drive. But I think, the package overall, other than the powertrain, the comfort, the just inside out, has got such feel-good factor, wow factor, that people, what I hear is in the small towns are just absolutely lapping it up. And over there, they really aren't too concerned about performance. So I think Sierra is going to be a big kind of, let's say, volume hitter for Tata Motors. And you've got the new Punch now.
Exactly.
And Punch, I think Shailesh had mentioned he wants to get the volumes up. But these two products, I think, could really drive Tata Motors volumes significantly this year.
Absolutely. I was talking to him. He's very, very bullish on the fact that, yes, it was the largest selling car, at one point. It dropped to number 10 last year, 2025. But he says, look, there's no reason why it can't climb. And as he said, it's going to hit a new peak. Of course, it's the facelift, but he's also counting on the fact that they've now got a new powertrain. So there's the turbo
petrol,
petrol, which wasn't there earlier. So the Punch finally has Punch.
Yeah.
You've also got the CNG with the AMT now. So there's more choice addressing fewer, more sort of niches, adding to that total volume. So yeah, I don't doubt his belief that, the Punch will claw its way back up. It's fundamentally a very good kind of product. Maybe rear seat space is the only kind of negative in there.
That's right. I think rear seat space compared to the rivals, especially extra, a little cramped. But I think the design, the overall kind of, let's say, road presence has, I think, really been very positive. Sticking with Tata Motors, I think Sergius EVs, their market share has come down on EVs, but still very much a solid leader in the EV space.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think...
and you've got Sierra EV coming in now.
Exactly. They're not going to let go of this space. They're going to have Sierra EV coming. I think they will delay it. A lot of people are talking about an April launch, but what I feel is that might get pushed to around June because they want Sierra ICE production, supply, everything to stabilize and distribution. So obviously they don't want to get distracted from this. Don't forget, Sierra really is a really big deal for Tata Motors. After a long time, they're banking on a car that can really take their volumes up. So Sierra EV, and I think another one which is going to be launched this year is the Safari EV. And I think that's in response to the Mahindra 9S. From what I understand, Tata Motors had kind of kept it on the back burner, too many projects. Everyone has limited bandwidth. So after the Harrier EV, Safari EV was a natural option to have. But I think seeing the success of the 9S and the pull on it, I think the Safari EV is fast-tracked again. And I think we should be seeing the Safari EV maybe by the middle of this year. So 2 EVs coming from Tata Motors, which is, let's say, the Sierra and the Safari EV. And there's talk also of the next gen Nexon being developed, all new face. But I think that's some
might slip to
time
27.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
So I think, they've got a lot on their plate. And I think with these launches, Tata Motors, I think definitely, has a good shot at, fighting with Mahindra for number 2.
Absolutely. I think their theme for this year is the battle for second. It's clearly a battle that they can set their sights on. And, as you said,
and with a Punch, which is such a volume driver, I think they and a Sierra, which is an additional model line adding to the existing models. There will be cannibalization. Already we are seeing, through the questions we get between people asking between Harrier and Sierra.
Right.
And of course, the rivals like the 7XO, which again has got a lot of traction.
Correct.
So I think, it's going to be quite exciting.
And I have to mention the Nexon 2, Hormazd. It is at the very end of its very long life cycle, and it is still Tata's number 1 seller. So you have to give them credit in the top 10. I think that's of course going to bring in the volumes too. So that's, I think, battle for second, wide open. So while Tata is bringing in a lot of new metal, I think for Mahindra, it's going to be a quiet year, and they're going to be banking heavily on the recently introduced 7XO and the 9S, right? I think those are going to be really focused products.
That's right. I mean, I think it's been a fantastic year for Mahindra. And if you see that, they've jumped to 3rd place with their EVs, it's actually phenomenal. And with EVs that are, expensive,
right?
The 20 plus lakh range, overall. So to get those sort of volumes, though far below Mahindra's expectations, I think they were expecting more. But I think, there could be reasons for that. I think B6 didn't fire the way it should. 9E, I think, was it's really been fantastic.
Right.
Really been a huge success. But again, beyond that volumes, then you run into, let's say, the overall category, EV category. It's not grown for obvious reasons as well. So I think, but still, I think if you look at what they've achieved, absolutely phenomenal. And they've achieved this with big, expensive SUVs. No hatchbacks, no sedans, no MPVs, nothing, just SUVs. So if you take that into account, well, it is the largest chunk of the market, but it's not 100% of the market which they're addressing the way, let's say, Maruti would address. It's a phenomenal achievement. But going forward, I think, they will be under pressure from the volumes race because Tata Motors, as we've had said, has the Sierra and the Punch. I think Mahindra will be depending on the 7XO and the 9S. And I'll be honest, Sergius, I think both these products have actually turned out fantastically. And the 7XO, I drove it, and that suspension, the
DX valve.
That's right, the DX valve, which they've kind of marketed name as Da Vinci.
Right.
But I think it's more than just marketing hype. It is genuinely phenomenal. And, it really works. You can feel the difference instantly. And with the suspension, I think Mahindra has not only closed the gap to Tata Motors, but I think has gone ahead of them. And I would say that the 7XO right now rides better even than the Harrier and Safari. It's that good. So I think really they've done an outstanding job, both in terms of body control, in terms of ride plushness. Drove it in Jaisalmer. It was absolutely fantastic. And I think, so this car is going to really be, let's say, firing on all cylinders. But of course, it's a replacement to the 700. So volumes will be more, but incrementally more. And of course, the 9S
will also go into the 9Es.
It will. And, 9S will also go into the 7XO. I mean, we're getting a lot of queries, people asking for both. So I think it's interesting that EVs are now really becoming mainstream in that sense in the thought process. It's not that someone buying an EV will only buy an EV, or someone buying an ICE is only looking at an ICE. They're literally looking at it just another powertrain option, which is actually a good thing. Absolutely. But again, these two products for Mahindra, I think, will be the mainstays. Of course, 3XO also doing well. So Mahindra, getting into 2026 really with some good momentum with these two very, very strong launches. And I think, I think they should see that momentum carry through. I think the Bolero also is really doing brilliantly well.
Of course.
We don't really look at that.
Of its own.
Yeah, it's a bit of a unglamorous product over there, but really it's a, again, it's got a
strong color. Yeah, it's got a fans.
Yeah, that's right. So I think, again, on the Thar family, it's really the 1.5 3-door. That's really the best seller right now. I think Rock's a bit niche. And I think, Thar, I don't think it'll have the kind of, let's say, the same momentum as these others will. And Scorpio, of course, is really, again, a brand in its own, and it has a lot of takers. So I think overall, Mahindra, again, on a very strong wicket and, well placed to retain that number 2. But as we said, Tata Motors could give it a good fight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's battle wide open, and one that I'm looking forward to seeing play out, because it is between two Indian brands who really sort of address the Indian requirements. Almost spot on. So,
yeah.
But Hormazd, talking about EVs, there's a very interesting sort of point I want to bring to your notice is that you're right, Mahindra, number 3 in the EV race. The number 4 brand last year was Vinfast in the EV space. I think their theme is Vinfast, literally, as the name goes. Who would have thought that a brand that didn't exist, nobody knew about, didn't have a plant, they started like plant afresh, they didn't take over a plant. They built the plant, got the cars out. Then the 4th largest EV maker, and surpassing people like Kia and Hyundai. So that is something you have to give them that due there.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they don't seem a very conventional player. I think there's also, how many dealerships they've got. A lot of test drive cars are not available. So
we only just got them recently.
That's right. Yeah, but I think obviously, kind of, let's say, encouraged by this success, let's talk about 26 and the models they're coming with.
Yeah, there's a lot, Hormazd.
I think the big scoop is a VF5 could be coming.
A VF5 is the big scoop, Hormazd, and really they're going to be looking at a very aggressive price, which we know they can do. They've done that with their products, the 7 and the 6. The VF6, for example, 16.9 odd lakh is where it's at, I think, ex-showroom. This one, the VF5, sits a lot lower. In fact, I had the spec, somewhere here. The VF5 is 94 horsepower, 29.6 kilowatt hour, car. It's a hatchback, so it's almost like it's like a Tiago EV, if you will.
Could be priced at the Tiago level.
So yeah, you never know. I mean, I'm wondering, could it be priced at that level? That would blow the thing wider.
Well, obviously, they have a phenomenal cost structure, because a lot of it is imported, but still they'll be able to price it competitively. So I think, that would be one to watch out for, to have such a low cost EV. But clearly, if, the VF6 is around 16-ish lakhs, this could be down to around maybe 12 lakhs or something.
12 lakhs.
12 lakhs, yeah. So absolutely. So that's really a good one to watch out for. So yeah, really, Vinfast is a company you should maybe keep your eye on in 2020.
Yeah, and there's more this year, because we know they have said that they're bringing in the limo, the MPV, the limo green as they call it. And apparently there's going to be 2 versions to it, which Vinfast will supply. So it's not that, you buy this car, let's say if you're a private buyer, and then if you want to convert it to commercial, they'll sell you a separate spec, a separate kind of config, if you are using it for commercial, business. So that's something really cool. And then the VF3 is an outside possibility too. They are, I know, a little skeptical about the 2-door thing, but at the same time, they're looking at the Comet and thinking,
well, Comet's doing 1,000+ numbers.
Yeah.
And I think,
I think it has dipped though on slightly, but yeah.
I think it dipped and it's come up again, because I think people are just warming up to the concept of the car. I mean, it's very limited, the Comet, as we know. Right. Not a complete car, but honestly, there's nothing like it in the market.
But this is so much better than a Comet in that sense. Two-door, it looks like a proper, SUV. In fact, that's micro SUV, large tires, should translate to better ride.
Right.
So I think they should bring that, actually, frankly, the VF3.
I don't know if they'll come in 2026.
Yeah.
That remains to be seen. But clearly, I think Vinfast a company to watch out for this year.
Right. So they did pip the Koreans. So why not let's talk about the Hyundai and Kia. I think.
Yeah, so Hyundai number 4 position. I think really, for a company that was number 2 to slip to number 4, I mean, they've got a lot going for them. They've got fantastic products, good technology. They are global. Quality is really good. Maybe it's getting a bit on the pricey side because right now, profitability is important for them. They're a listed company. But I think, banking a lot on the Creta, I think 26 for the first time, the Creta is going to be under serious threat. And as we close 25, there were offers and discounts seen on the Creta which you'd never seen before. So clearly, Creta under pressure. And I think they don't have any really new major launch. There's a talk of the, let's say, the Franck's rival, which is Bayonne based. I'm not sure when that would come, but again, I think for them, Creta is their backbone. And, the next gen Creta is still some time back, possibly in 27. So, it'll have all these new fresh models and onslaught of SUVs to kind of really battle against. So I think for Hyundai, it's going to be really making sure that the network is firing. They've got a new sales head right now who's really cracking the whip on the dealers. So I think, for Hyundai, it's really in a way of consolidating, making sure that, it's working as efficiently and aggressively as possible to kind of, let's say, get the volumes that a lot of these products deserve. I mean, Extra actually should be doing better than it does. Actually, It's a fantastic car.
Right.
So yeah, I think, again, it's going to be a tough year for Hyundai, just looking at the way both the Indian companies are doing it.
Yeah, and I think one of the bigger threats to Hyundai and the Creta is from, you could call it within, is Kia, the Seltos. We've seen absolute pricing. I mean, very, very aggressive, slam bang on the Creta, despite it being the new gen and the new platform.
I think you're absolutely right. I think Kia have absolutely killed it with the Seltos. Really done really well. I think, honestly, there's no really reason to buy a Creta now because other than the fact that, it's a very familiar, proven model, let's say, the whole life cycle is now very predictable from the time you buy it right down to the resale value and the service. That's what happened when these models have really been around for a long time, for generations. Really, they build that kind of trust. But the Seltos itself has been around long. It's been the first gen has been fantastic, and they've really taken it to the next level with this one. Much bigger, looks meatier, and at a very competitive price. So insane value.
Right.
And it's got all the powertrains, interior quality very good. So really, what's not to like in the Seltos? And I think this is really going to be the SUV to watch out for in 2026.
Yeah, I think this is the year where Kia steps out of the shadows of, big brother Hyundai.
That's right. And even the Clavis EV, I think, it's in a way, it's got the edge over the Creta EV because very similar, but it's got that 7 seats. And as a 7-seater, it's actually phenomenal. Probably for the money, the best 7-seater if you want third row comfort. There's nothing that really comes close at this price point.
Yeah. And Kia isn't done for the year. They've got the Ceros EV is there in the pipeline, and the Sorento, which they're going to be making here in India. And so the word inside is they want to have a very aggressive price. And going to be with a strong hybrid too. So
I think that's right. Absolutely. So I think Ceros EV, that's a big one. That's definitely on the cards. And I think Sorento, as you said, Sergius, really localized, going to pick up where, let's say, the Hyundai Tucson left off.
Right.
And I think they'll come in at an even more aggressive price because, the Tucson was expensive. That gap between the Creta and the Tucson was too much.
Right.
So I think Kia has learned from that, seen that, and I think gap between the Seltos and the Sorento will be much less and more accessible. So I think they should get some good volumes there. But I think, again, I think it's likely to come this year, but might slip into 27, is the Seltos hybrid as well. But I think 2026 could be the year of more hybrids coming. And I think, we've had, let's say, the first lot come, which is from Maruti and Toyota, then nothing after that.
Yeah.
and no one else has really come out with it. I mean, Honda is there very marginally with the City. I think now we will see more players coming out with hybrids, because for cafe, you get a huge benefit going with with hybrids. You get super credits are double, so it makes sense for you to come in with them. So I think Kia with the Seltos definitely going to be one of the first proper mid-size SUV hybrids after the let's say Grand Vitara and the High Rider.
Right. And we've got another big scoop, right, in terms of hybrids with MG.
Absolutely, yes.
And
MG
finally plugging in.
Plugging in. That is the big news. The code right now is 520. It's a massive 3-row MPV SUV. It's basically based on the Wuling 730, and which is there, but I think the design might change. We're not sure, but fundamentally it's a 4.8 meter 3-row MPV stroke SUV. We don't know what the body style will be. Right now it's an MPV, and it will be powered by a 1.5 liter plug-in hybrid as well as an EV.
Right.
So you're going to have an EV and a plug-in hybrid, and that's coming this year, let's say in July, August. So that's going to be a big one from MG. That's the big one from MG this year.
And another brand, Hormazd, that is going electric is Honda, though not this year. We know it's 2027, but they've announced plans, Elevate-based SUV. But Prelude is coming this year, right? That's exciting.
That is exciting. I mean, again, it looks good, hybrid. But I think what Honda should have done is got the Civic Type R, because that really is an iconic model of Honda's. It's reflective of their sporting DNA, what makes Hondas great to drive. And really, I think this would have had a lot more appeal than, let's say, a Prelude would, because, honestly, hybrids, they really don't kind of tug at the heartstrings the way this pure, powerful, punchy ICE cars do. And, these are so evocative. I mean, just look at the response to the Golf GTI and even the Opti, the RS. Phenomenal. And I think, again, what Honda should have done is followed that template of Volkswagen and Skoda, got the Type R in very limited numbers, and they would have just been snapped up like that. Because, you've got enthusiasts, yes, in small numbers, who would pay top dollar, almost anything, to get a car that really gives you that kind of engagement, which, few other, let's say, mainstream cars can give you.
Yes, absolutely, Hormazd. I think for Honda, it is the year where they are finally awakening. And I want to switch to a pair of brands, actually, for whom it is, I would say, almost survival. Nissan and Renault, they have announced a slew of products, and that's great to hear. Let's just begin with Renault, the Duster and a 3-row.
Duster, very big. Jan 26 on Republic Day is going to be when they're launching it. I think, 1 liter, 1.3 liter engine. I think it's going to kind of bring back, it's a comeback of a brand that was really, really iconic over here. It kind of, let's say, kicked off a certain trend of SUVs, the monocoque SUV, when it came, and clearly
kind of started the mid-size SUV segment.
It did start the mid-size SUV segment, absolutely. And, that's what they want to kind of pick up from where they left off. But I think it will be a challenge. For one, the hero was the K9K diesel, which they don't have. They only have a petrol engine. There's a lot more competition right now. It's become a features arms race now than more than, on the powertrain, the suspension, everything that made the Duster strong. So it remains to be seen how well equipped the Duster is. That's going to be absolutely key. And then you have the, let's say, the Nissan equivalent, the Tecton.
Right.
Senses Nissan really in the shadow of Renault in India right now, because the way Renault is investing, the noise Renault is making, I think, Nissan really will not really be able to match that kind of firepower or muscle which Renault has. But again, we could see some surprises, because in the end, it's all about the looks. We've seen, that the Tecton also is a good looking car. And
very macho, like the
that's right,
brawny SUVs that they have.
And Nissan has a certain equity and cachet. Thanks to the Magnite, you will rarely find an unhappy Magnite owner, because Magnites have been very reliable, don't give you any trouble, typical Japanese products. And I think, that rub-off will come on the Tecton. So, but the way I think Renault is going ahead, taking the lead with the Duster, this is their platform, their product, which they are kind of giving to Nissan. So clearly, I think that's going to be to Renault's advantage, and this is going to be their big play for 2026.
Right, and you're right, Hormazd. The looks could help the Tecton, just as it is helping the Magnite, because the Magnite is also based on the Kiger, right? But we've seen the more traditional SUV look on the Magnite is a bigger draw than
That's
the
right.
sort of crossover, look on the Renault.
Yeah, but I would say that the Duster also is hardcore SUV.
It's hardcore SUV. Yeah.
It's very similar to the older Duster. You know what made the Duster so appealing? That wide stance, slightly flared out arches, very, very kind of, let's say upright kind of body style. So I think, again, it's going to be, again, down to the looks over there.
Yeah, absolutely. The good thing for Nissan, though, is besides this, they will also have the Gravite. So their version of the Triber.
That's right.
So,
Absolutely.
So there's something coming to their dealers more to sell.
Exactly. But it'll still have that old BR10 engine, I think. I think getting the HR10 is proving quite expensive there. So, but again, I think the Gravite or the Triber, again, a phenomenal concept. Really no competition over there, at that price point. And as we've seen that the packaging is so phenomenal. I mean, I think, it's just a marvel the way they've managed to squeeze 3 rows and the third row being fairly usable in a sub 4 meter, let's say footprint. Absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a shame the turbo isn't going to come, because that is actually the Nissan engine, so, and in the Gravite.
It is the Nissan engine, but now everything has gone to this company called Horse Powertrain, which is, got where Geely has a significant stake in there.
Yeah.
And talking about Horse, there's talk of them bringing the HR18, which is let's say a hybrid,
right,
for both the Duster and the Tecton. So clearly, everyone needs some kind of, let's say, hybrid play to meet CAFE norms. And I think, by 27, you can expect, or by the end of 2026, since we're talking on 26, you can expect this engine option also to be available. And there's talk of, let's say, Horse coming to India. But again, having Chinese ownership makes it complicated. But Horse really is now, a Horse Powertrain is, let's say, the powertrain supplier to Nissan and to Renault. Yeah, basically to Renault.
Moving on to another duo, Skoda Volkswagen. For them also, it's going to be a year of simply chugging along. No mega products, but we know we've got facelifts of the 2.0 India 2.0 cars.
But I think, chugging along would be the absolutely no models. But I think the facelifts could, let's say, add a little bit of, sparkle, a little bit of excitement. But again, it's coming when there's a lot of competition.
Exactly, yeah.
You've got it. Sierra one side, you've got 7XO on top, which again is priced where these cars are priced. Right. Amazing pricing for the 7XO. So clearly the lines are blurring between, the plus 4.3, 4.4 meter SUVs with 4.5 meter SUVs. So I think, there's a lot of competition really for both Volkswagen and Skoda. And they suffer from being optically small. They are the smallest in this, let's say, category.
Absolutely. And, but I think one thing that Skoda is doing very smartly and almost uncharacteristically is shifting that they're pivoting to the rear seat. We know it was a scoop we've already broken earlier. The rear seats are going to have ventilation and massage function.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly.
I think that's something very, very smart.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have expected it from a brand like Skoda, which has always been more about the drive and engines and suspension.
Correct.
Perhaps somebody like the Sierra or the Kia Seltos could have offered that, but they don't. And it's now on a Skoda.
And we'll have a better aircon as well.
Yes, they upgraded the air conditioning.
That's right. There's always a problem in the Kushaq and the Taigun. So they've upgraded that as well. So both, I think, the Kushaq and Taigun will really, with all these features, all the enhancements, have a lot more appeal as well. But again, it's coming into a very competitive space, coming at the same time as something like the Duster. Right. And as I said, Sierra also there, which may not be directly competing. But I think if you ask me, Duster, Kushaq, Taigun, absolutely head on. Right. Amongst all of them. I mean, more so than the Koreans as well, because, both have that kind of slight European feel to it, which is, very strong on dynamics, very strong on ride and handling. Right. I believe the 1.3 engine is very, very strong as well. It's developed with the Mercedes, this very engine. So, yeah, I think the Duster is the one that both the Kushaq and Taygun have to worry about.
Yeah, so Hormaz, let's switch now to the premium end of the market, because there's a lot of sort of happenings there too. And I think for me, one of the big ones is the rapid climb of BMW. They sold their highest ever, over 17,000 units last year. And they've got a lot more coming this year. They've already announced 6 all-new models and over 20, I think 27 is what Mr. Brad was saying, 27 odd updates in total, right? And I think one of which you're very excited about is the long wheelbase i5, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think we broke the story on the i5. Right. And, electric is where, to be honest, BMW has, just beaten all the luxury guys, even Mercedes. iX1, an absolute winner. Great formula because, just fantastic pricing for a car that really gives you a lot. It's firstly a BMW. You've got that badge appeal. You've got the technology. You've got the space, long wheelbase. Really absolutely brilliant. Now they're going to try and apply the same formula to the i5, which makes it a very formidable adversary, especially for the E-Class, which has reigned this segment. So I think one drawback of the 5 Series was it didn't have a diesel engine, which the E-Class does. But I think with the electric version, they're going to kind of, let's say, compensate or address that issue. So the only challenge I see for luxury sedans, any luxury sedan, is ground clearance.
Right.
All of them have suffered. EQS, the i5 M60. In fact, the i5 M60 was so bad it was hitting everywhere. We reviewed that, and it's something that hadn't gone unnoticed with BMW, which actually delayed the launch of the i5 by almost a year because they had to just re-engineer the car to kind of, let's say, have higher ground clearance. CLA, which is coming, when I drove it in Denmark, very low ground clearance. That level of ground clearance is going to be an issue in India. I don't know whether they will address that. But really, luxury sedans, really one of the reasons they don't work in luxury electric sedans, they don't work in India is because of ground clearance issue. All of them face it, i7 as well. So, it's just the way, the batteries, kind of lower the floor just from a packaging point of view. Ground clearance is fundamentally less when you have a battery pack over there.
Right.
And that really is a problem. And all of them have long wheelbases. So that, kind of ramp breakover is accentuated further. So, it really falls foul of not even the worst of speed breakers. So it becomes a challenge over them. But again, i5, super exciting. I'm not sure if they will have addressed the issue of the rear sunblind by now, which was really the big deal breaker in the 5 Series. I mean, who would have imagined that,
Really?
So, but I think I know they're looking at that. It might not come by the i5, or it might come, but it's definitely on the cards to have a kind of, let's say a roll-up sunblind, electrically or not. But something is better than that silly kind of, let's say, you have to mesh in the glass, which, customers...
It doesn't even fold, actually. It's
not even fold. Exactly, yeah. So, I mean, who would have thought that something so small would be a deal breaker? So, yeah, so I think BMW definitely exciting.
Yeah, absolutely, Hormaz. So, and, besides Mercedes, there's also another luxury brand we must talk about is Audi, because it's finally the year of revival. I mean, for far too long, they've ignored the Indian market. No fresh cars. It's just been updates and facelifts. But this year, we're going to see finally some all-new cars, beginning with the Q3, the third generation Q3, all-new. I think both of us have seen it. Really looks nice and promising. They also have the A6, electric coming in.
Yeah, it'll be the A6 e-tron.
E-tron.
Again, I hope they sort out the ground clearance issue on that.
Absolutely. And then, of course, there are updates to the cars. Like, we're going to see a variant like the SQ8.
I think SQ8 is going to be very interesting. Because the RSQ8, really one of our favorite performance SUVs. Absolutely. And SQ8, it's a milder version, but of course, a lot more affordable as well. And maybe, I think with the SQ8, they'll finish the whole Q8 range.
True. So, yeah, finally, I mean, fans of the four rings, can look forward to some new metal, but it might be a little later in the year, right?
Yeah, so I think Q3 definitely end of this year. That's what happening. A Q3 one to look forward to. Really, it's a new, let's say, avatar of Audi. new design language, new interiors. Finally, we'll get fresh and not dated interiors where Apple CarPlay works.
Wirelessly, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Wirelessly, wireless Apple CarPlay works, and I think the A6 might spill into next year.
Okay.
And I think Q6 also they're planning, but that will be very much CKD. So that they're dependent on the group's plans, Volkswagen group's plans. So really not sure that'll come in 26. But I think, after the Q3, there'll be a real good succession of solid products. I think for Audi is very important because right now, they're into deep discounts to move their existing products here.
Right.
So I think these new products should spell the end of that kind of, let's say, discount era for them, which unfortunately has sullied the brand. But, when you have old products, you really don't have much choice.
Right.
What can you do? So I think they've not been backed by the headquarters enough to get fresh models here. So, but yeah, I think it would be great to see Audi back.
And Hormazd, let's not forget your favorite brand in the premium space, Porsche.
Yeah, I think Porsche, I think we know the Cayenne Electric is coming, 1100 horsepower. It's going to be absolutely mental. So that's something to look forward to. I think the other one is very small volume is the 911, the 99 2.2 GT3. That also is hopefully will come in this year. But otherwise, not too much from Porsche, actually. Porsche, the problem is that these homologation requirements have kind of made it very difficult for them to import cars much more easily because there's a homologation requirement in Europe which doesn't quite match what is there in India. So you can't use the European homologation, or if you use the homologation in Europe, those features don't work in India, and Porsche is not comfortable with that.
Right. And it also counts against the quota that you're allowed to import.
Well, I don't think they're using up the quota because the quota is not used by anyone. Yes, it's quite a big 2,500 cars is a lot. Right. But I think more than that, it is really, if you want to do it homologation free, you have to then get the features in Europe which are mandatory, especially like speed warnings and traffic light detection and all that into India. Now Porsche is saying, these features don't work in India, so consumers will get foxed by it. Now other brands don't have a problem, but Porsche, being Porsche, is not allowing it. So I think a little bit of frustration here for the team in India, because all cars that come into India then have to be homologated. And then, of course, the cost of that limits you to how many models you can bring in. And another European brand, of course, below the top three Germans is Volvo. And I think Volvo, again, going the electric way. So EX30, really didn't get off to a great start because really price to size ratio not quite matching. It's quite expensive for the car. It is quite a tiny car, no leg room, which is important in this model. But I think what's promising is their flagships, the EX90, the all-electric SUV, and the ES90, the all-electric sedan. So I think these are expected in 2026. Of course, will be niche, but I think clearly, it'll give some volumes. And I think, Volvo does electric well regardless.
Yeah, and Hormazd, speaking of large electric SUVs, the one I'm looking forward to this year is the Range Rover electric, because we've seen that we've not driven it actually, it was a passenger ride experience. Phenomenal sort of approach to luxury electric SUVs. It drives brilliantly. As we've seen very often, electric cars tend to sort of outshine their ICE counterparts, with, of course, better acceleration, things like that. But suspension also, phenomenal, job they've done on that. And it's coming to India this year, finally, after much delay. So that's going to be big for them, Range Rover. And I believe they might have the Jaguar unveiled in India too, the production version, right?
Yeah, they were to bring it, I think, last year, but then I think after the Air India crash and, being part of the Tata group, they just thought it just didn't look good to kind of unveil the Jaguar soon after that, especially when, everyone was almost in mourning after such a tragic accident. So I think, so we should see that car and, Jerry McGovern's legacy and how people react to it. Of course, very, very controversial, like Jerry himself. But I think, Range Rover electric, Range Rovers just absolutely in a class of their own. Fantastic. I mean, I just love them. And there's really no competition to them. And even with the Range Rover electric, there's no, I would say, direct competition, really. So I think So people wanting an EV or a luxury electric SUV, that really would be a fantastic choice. I still think it would be quite niche, but they'll definitely take us for it.
Yeah. And Hormazd Range Rover, they've done really well last year and on the back of the Defender. And I am betting my money that this year we're going to see a locally assembled Defender because it's just too lucrative a product to not address when they're assembling others. I know there's things to consider also.
Yeah, there's the European FTA.
Exactly. It's no longer made in the UK.
Yeah.
It's shifted out. But I wouldn't be surprised if we were to see that happen. So, yeah, I think there's a lot also that's going to happen at Range Rover.
Right. Yeah. So, absolutely. And I think 2026, looking at the trends, I mean, I don't know what you think, Sergius. I think the screen wars are still going to continue.
Right.
3 screens coming lower and lower down. So
3 screens, rear screens.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it's going to be a screen fest in 26. I think we might see some buttons coming back in certain models. That would be nice. So I think that's one trend maybe I would like to see in 2026. It could happen. And I think the other big news definitely will be some form of FTA with the European Union. And, I think that again for, let's say, especially high-end car buyers, enthusiasts, that really would be fantastic news if that is confirmed, because then you can have a clear timeline as to when, duties will come down just the way we have with the UK. And, cars will get a lot cheaper because cars are very expensive right now, that's for sure. And I think, so...
and also hybrid almost this year. I think it's going to
be the year of the hybrid as well. Yeah, absolutely. So great, Sergius. I think that was quite, I wouldn't say a recap, but a kind of a small capsule on what cars to expect, a little bit of crystal gazing, which companies are going to do well. And I hope you all enjoyed that too, because really 2026 is going to be an exciting year. And we hope you enjoyed watching this podcast and all that is going to happen in 2026. We've tried to give you as much information as possible, which is what we try and do in these podcasts. And I hope you do enjoy watching them and listening to them. And to make sure you don't forget to tune in every Saturday at 11 a.m. Click on the bell icon to be notified. And you can even catch us on our audio platforms, Spotify and Apple Podcast. Thanks for watching. See you again, same time next week.